Dad Pod
This is a video thing as well.
Doesn't have a name.
podcast.
Midlife crisis.
Paddy Daddy.
Midlife crisis.
Dadcast.
That's not bad, actually.
Dadcast with Nivea Men. Try Ireland's #1 skincare brand.
All right, you're very welcome along to this week's episode of Dadcast. All the dads are here. Adrian is here.
Hello.
Dave is here.
Hello.
Just putting his earphones in. And Nathan is also here. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Jer.
How are you all?
Very well, thank you for asking.
Mad with the pollen at the minute. Suffering big time.
Oh,
'Tis the season, all right.
Oh my God.
Scratching your eyes out. Have you found anything good? I have found nothing good.
Zyrtec. I take Zyrtec. Is it any good? I've absolutely no idea. But it technically is supposed to work for 48 hours. Scratching your eyes out, itchy mouth, nose. It's like, I find it hard. I'm a trooper, obviously, at the best of times, but I get bloody distracted by it. Like,
Piriton is supposed to make you sleep and drowsy. So I take it going to bed and then I'm being awake at 4 o'clock in the morning anytime I take it. So it is not working for me.
well, that's pretty
Whatever the
suits you,
combination
does it? Given your
is.
schedule.
Well, no, because those last 2 hours of sleep before you get up are like the most important. Anyway, it's Father's Day. Are we all excited? Father's Day. Did you know it's Father's Day this weekend? Is it this weekend or next
I
weekend?
didn't know. It's this weekend. I didn't know. My
Is it Sunday?
4-year-old came home from creche during the week and she said, I've made you a surprise card. I was like, okay, cool.
Does anybody historically get anything on Father's Day? Apart from maybe a card and your wife
Sucks.
urging your children to go in and give you a hug and tell you Happy Father's Day?
That's all you need, Dave. That's all it's about.
Hey, I don't even need the card. Just want the hug. That's all I need. Hugs are my oxygen.
We've kind of got to the stage now where there was a palaver a few times about breakfast in bed and making stuff, and you're like, I mean, it's 12 o'clock here and no one's eating and everybody's a little bit hungry. So maybe this year we'll put a plan in place in advance and have everything pre-prepared the night before. And it's like step 1, step 2, step 3. So these are the skills that you learn. You plan, try and in advance and try and execute the plan.
So this is a plan for you to have breakfast in bed this Sunday.
Well, what'll happen is that there'll be a last second plan hatched and nothing will be done. And there'll be some errors along the way, which will end up needing correction.
What an ungrateful prick.
Why the need for a plan? Why can't you just... I'm lost here as to how this could possibly become an issue.
Your way, Dave. Is that it?
Yeah.
Sorry, it'll be specifically pancakes is the thing. That's the thing that gets made. And so that's a trickier operation than you might think.
Well, there's a cooker involved there straight off the bat.
Exactly.
Not if you just take them out of the pack and lob them into the microwave.
Well, they're gross. So
no, they're not. Lovely.
But, I mean, they're not a treat though, Dave, are they?
Well, any pancake with Nutella spread over them surely must be construed as a treat, no matter what the origins.
Yeah, okay, but no Nutella. Yeah.
Breakfast in bed isn't enjoyable anyways, is it?
It really isn't.
I agree with you.
Really
I'm
Bullshit.
like, just... Like, what would be far more enjoyable Father's Day morning would be like if somebody just left their breakfast on the kitchen table and then they all left for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Got away for 2 nights. See you Tuesday.
Yes,
True.
Best Father's Day ever.
It's messy. It's
Oh,
not comfortable. Like, do you have to have one of those wanky trays from the 80s that you what? Like,
you can feel the crumbs on your back when you get into bed that night.
when you're
great.
your neatly made bed later on that evening.
So I'm the ungrateful one trying to make it successful, and you're like, you can just fuck off out of my life there. Yeah, I get it, Nathan. Thanks. Anyway, I'm delighted to say, to celebrate Father's Day, Nivea have sent us dads some samples to, if you also want to feel great in your skin, Nivea Men has you covered from sensitive, tailored skincare to cleansing and anti-age. Try Ireland's #1 skincare brand for sensitive skin. So the anti-age stuff works really well around the eyes. I mean, you guys can be your own judge of that, but you do feel pretty smooth. Nothing like a little bit of smoothness. Everybody likes a bit of smoothness in their lives, right?
Yeah, you can never overdo the smoothness.
you put it all over your head, Dave?
Well, that's unprovoked, harsh, uncalled for.
It's a good.
It's just
It's a
the way
good
the sun
question,
was
though.
shining there. I hadn't thought about it previously, but
The audience wants to know.
The only creamy type substance I would be rubbing in my head is sun cream.
Okay.
That's about it. And I don't even bother with the head anymore. I just wear a baseball cap permanently now in the sunshine. The days of like emptying half a bottle of sunscreen over my scalp they're gone. What a waste that is. So when you'd honestly go and wax every hair on your body when you every morning when I put the lads in sun cream, I'm like, it's just so easy. Like none of it gets soaked up by hairs on legs and arms. Where I have to go through half a bottle of the stuff just to make sure my legs and arms are protected. So maybe just wax all those bad boys off, and then you'll save yourself a fortune in sun cream.
Well, that's a next Dadcast on Tour episode where Dave gets waxed live in front of a studio audience.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely something we could consider. Yes, in return for a substantial payment.
Some quick correspondence. Owen from Durham in the UK says, I was listening to your pod a few weeks ago about the football clubs, and to solve the problem of the shirts, why don't you get them to support your club that you followed/follow? As a Sunderland fan, I definitely agree with not buying kit from Newcastle. So this was in response to Nathan's kid who wanted a Newcastle jersey, and you were uncertain about the sports washing element of that. Did you relent and get a Newcastle jersey?
no. And he was looking online the other day going, oh, look at the new Newcastle jersey, and they have a new sponsor as well and everything. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder how they managed to get that deal there with that Saudi PR company. I was like, it looks just like every other Newcastle jersey. It's black and white stripes. You're not getting it. So he's going safe. And don't ruin this on him or me. He's getting a Evan Ferguson Brighton jersey.
Oh yeah.
What's
That's
the
a
news about
great
that?
catch-all solution, isn't it?
Hmm?
Until Brighton, that's a great catch-all solution until Brighton are taken over by a Middle Eastern petrostate, and suddenly all these questions are being raised again.
Well, there was talk of him going to Newcastle at one point, and I was like, please don't do that. Please. What are you saying? Please don't ruin it for us.
That there is something that I don't know about.
Okay. There are what's on the airways? What's on the front of the jersey?
Yeah, there definitely was an airline on it at one stage.
Anyway, we could
Turkish
go
Airlines.
down, we could definitely go down a few rabbit holes with any of the teams and all of their sponsors the various industries that they get into. But that's not what we're here. We're here to celebrate being fathers.
Yes, but just on one final note on that. The club my son supports are now day by day, hour by hour, edging closer to a takeover. That
well, you just
raise
aged this
eyebrows.
podcast. Let's wait and see exactly what happens. We're recording of a Wednesday, and it could be decided at any point. So, Dave, your topics this week were pretty interesting.
Yeah, some of which can be discussed on air, and some which are better discussed over a pint and a pizza. It's pretty obvious from which ones I'm referring to. But yeah, I just I didn't have anything in mind until I sat down about an hour ago and thought, right, what are we going to talk about today? But let me just go through them now, because you guys were incredibly helpful in adding to what I was coming up with this morning.
Does your son? I've got the first one. Does your son have a hearing problem? Does your son have a hearing problem, or is he just ignoring you? I mean,
look, it's got to the point where I'm actually going to book him in for a hearing test, because should you have to call your child 6 times before he at least acknowledges that you have been born of this earth and do exist?
Dave, you're a unique beast, so I'm sort of there's a trepidation about asking you this question. Were you like that as a kid?
I don't know, but quite possibly, yes.
I certainly have recollections of, and I'm sure I was in that boat myself, but talking to my brother or sisters with the exact same, 5 times later, you're like, oh, we go and play some football, or we boom, 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 boom. And it's like, I think at that age, I don't know, is that everybody's experience at that age? You go through this period where you can kind of switch in and switch out.
Well, Dave, is it for everything in his life? So if you were to turn around and go, who wants an ice cream? 6 times. Or does he somehow manage to hear that?
I wouldn't have to say it 6 times for an ice cream. Absolutely not. Now it is when he's involved in something. He might be building Lego or watching a TV program or drawing or playing with his brother or something. So there's a chance that he just gets so honed in on what it is that he's doing that almost everything else is just blocked out. But it can be pretty frustrating when it happens like 10 times a day. So it got to the point where I was at the kitchen table doing some work the other day, and he was watching TV maybe 10 feet away. So I set up like a whispering test where I would whisper stuff across the room just to see could he hear me. But I was asking him to listen first and saying, right, stop what you're doing, have a look, can you hear what I'm saying? And then I would just say something in a whisper tone. And yes, sure enough, when he did concentrate on what I was saying, he could hear even the whispers. But I was just wondering, is it just my child that they just drown me out, just ignore me? Or is it everybody, every dad that's like that? I'm sure if I asked this question of my parents, they would say, yeah, 100%, you just ignored us.
Yeah. I do wonder if like we speak too much to them, give out too much to them, tell them what to do too much. And so therefore they're like, well, this is going to be the same shit. And actually,
maybe if they just do it, we wouldn't have to.
I mean, it's not going to happen.
Father's Day.
Though.
I think we can, give ourselves a break here.
Father's Week.
Father's Week.
There is that. I keep going back to that scene in The Sopranos where Tony and Carmela are like, what happens when they realize that we've got no power over them? We're totally fucked. I'm not sure we're there yet. We're getting close. I'd say we're well past that stage now where my kids are like, you're not going to do any of the things that you say you're going to do. You're like, so now it's got to the stage, well, I will leave you off at the side of the road. And they're like, yo, out. What's the and now I've got to the point where I try and make it as ridiculous as possible. It's like, I'll feed you to the pigs. And like, because the real threats of what I was supposed to be doing is like, oh, you won't have TV for 3 weeks. Like, well, that's duh. Obviously I will. Like 15 minutes later, you're going to come back from this position. So I've stopped doing any of that kind of stuff where it's like, do this or whatever. But and these are all connected, I think, Dave, to the point of not listening. Like they're only interested in the good shit that you have. And let's face it, we don't have that much good shit because we're their parents.
Getting dressed for school in the morning. That's the one where I honestly have to say, I'd say if somebody just stood in the corner with a pencil and a piece of paper and just wrote a tick into it every time I said, here lads, will you get dressed there, please? We're definitely getting towards 8, 9, 10, 11. And at no point until maybe the 8th or 9th incident have I raised my voice or spoken in a threatening manner of any description. It's here, lads, it's 10 past 8. Can we get dressed there? 8:15. Lads, come on, let's get dressed. Is that all right? 25 past 8. We're leaving the house at 8:30. They're still sitting there in their boxers. Like, will somebody get dressed now? Please. That's what I say. There's no TV till 2026. Actually, then that would get them off their chairs. I still just about have that hold on of them there, but as you say, it's weakening as the months and years go by.
And sorry, on the specifics, are their clothes laid out for them the night before? So all they got to do is...
Their clothes are sitting next to them. They are right next to them. They don't have to go upstairs, open drawers themselves and decide what they're going to wear that day. The clothes are sitting beside them.
And what are they doing, Dave?
They're just messing. They're lying about, playing with their toys, playing with their teddies, running around the place. This will be the morning, so they can't use TV as a distraction, as any excuse. But you also get... by the 10th time, if you go, lads, seriously, this is ridiculous. We're leaving in 2 minutes and neither of you are dressed. One of them will always turn around and say, but we didn't know. Like, why didn't you say it to us? Or, where are my clothes? They could literally be sitting on their clothes. Like, where are the clothes? Why didn't you give us the clothes? Those clothes have been sitting there since last night, boss.
My get out, or my sort of your version of shouting at them is I say, listen, I'm going to give you 10 seconds or whatever number of seconds, depending on the task at hand, to get this thing done. Mine, again, are younger than years, so this very much works. But it has been working for about the last year or so. So the youngest one, the 4-year-old, will go, she'll shout at me. Like, I'm not shouting at her, I'm just saying 10 seconds to get this done, boom, boom, boom. And she will lose the plot and shout at me, and she'll say,
don't count.
Exactly. I'll do it as long as you don't count. And I'm like, okay, you're not on the clock, but you are on the clock. And he loves, absolutely, he's only doing it because he loves the challenge. So he's like,
well, that's good.
Cool, can I get this done in 10 seconds or not? And then obviously there has to be various extensions. And that does tend to work for now, but I'm assuming
10
that.
seconds is very generous.
Well,
I'd
it
be-
depends
Yeah.
what the task is. It could be, and like, I've never made any threat as to what happens after the 10 seconds, so I don't even know what they're assuming is going to happen at that stage. But
I'm a 5-second merchant.
I was too, but actually 10 in retrospect is probably better.
I
More
just do the
dramatic.
timing. I just do 0 to however long it's going to take you, which is what works with the 4-year-old. So no matter what you ask her, she's like, time me, see how long it'll take me. I'm like, all right, that's the quickest yet. That you've never done it quicker. Wow.
every time the PB is
Every
getting better
time.
and better.
Wow. Like, oh, what did I say? Where did you go? I forgot. I to stop counting. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem with that is the
37,
blowback,
38.
Nathan. The blowback when she realizes that you've been taking her for a mug for all this time.
yeah.
I
This is
reckon
Dave.
for
There's one thing we know, Dave. We don't worry about the future with these things. You just live in the moment, and if it works right now.
There's a goal in our front garden, with a net and everything, and they literally cannot walk by it without taking 5 or 6 shots on each other, which is great, obviously. But if you're in a hurry to get to somewhere, like pick somebody up or something, the 5 seconds always works because I've got the engine running and I will back out of the driveway. And so you're just sitting. I'm sitting in the passenger in the driver's seat with the windows open, their doors open, and then the 5 seconds will start, and that always gets me to the car, or closing the front door, leaving them in behind in the hall. It's like one of those sliding doors where, like, Indiana Jones has to kind of reach back under the dropping wall and grab his hat. They love that as well in terms of the challenge, Nathan. How late can I leave it and still manage to get my body fitted through the gap between the door and the door frame? I've yet to close the door actually on their bodies, which is a bonus.
In slightly unrelated but similar type topic, I had a breakthrough in the last couple of weeks. So we will make porridge every morning, and everybody's expected to eat the porridge. The eldest fella absolutely loves it and would be eating it all day long if he was given the option. And the youngest fella absolutely loves it and is in the exact same boat. Middle one is sort of like a kind of a slowish eater anyway, but refuses. So it doesn't refuse to eat it, but will, like, God, it's exactly like that thing that Dave is talking about there. It's like 100 times later. Can you eat your breakfast? Can you eat your breakfast? So I just said last week, right, and this might seem very obvious, right? But I mean, I'm assuming that we're all like-minded, and you can end up in a rut of doing something and belligerently doing it and never realizing it's the wrong thing to do. Anyway, I had that realization last week and changed up her menu, which is a pain in the hole, and you never really want to have to be catering for 14 different tastes at one time. But have offered her some different stuff, and life is absolutely golden. There's no more shouting 100 times to eat the breakfast, and everybody just gets on with life. Tiny breakthrough, but has changed the complexion of my mornings.
What's on the menu now, so?
Giving in.
Yeah, basically giving in, Nathan. I'll grant you that.
That's fair enough. I'm not judging. I'm saying well done for backing down.
It'll be Weetabix with berries, Dave, and this morning a little bit of brown soda toast on the side. So yeah, Weetabix typically. Like, not the worst, definitely not the worst of them. I'd rather she was eating the porridge. It's better for her, but
A bit of Weetabix to milk is all good.
Yeah.
Just as long as they're leaving the house with something in their tummies. I find it very hard to get anything into my 2 lads in the morning. Like, 'cause we settle for half a banana just to at least fill some sort of a gap and release some amount of energy until they get to their first break in school. But particularly in this weather, they wake up and they're just not hungry. And we've all wake up in the morning and not want to eat anything.
Right.
So increasingly, if they just insist that they're not hungry, I'm just happy enough for them to head out the door. Like, they won't starve. There will be a break by 10 o'clock when they get their fruit or cereal bar or whatever it is to get into them. So I'd say it's a row I just couldn't be bothered having anymore, because the amount of food that goes to waste, be it a bowl of porridge, bowl of Cheerios, bowl of Weetabix,
break your
banana,
heart, like.
brown toast, and you only realize when you're leaving the house and you come back home after the school run, there's the plate. There's been one bite taken out of the 2 slices of toast, into the bin it goes. What a waste of food. I'd nearly rather they went to school a bit hungry than just throw more food into the bin.
Yeah, to break your heart.
The different meals for mealtime, though, then that precedent is established, and so therefore it's different dinner times. That's where it's hell.
Are you at that?
5 different meals, four different meals sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah, like, are you fighting the tide to just say, okay, we're sticking with this, or do you just?
I don't know. If you can get away with it, like, there's definitely. I remember somebody Spanish one time saying that the answer to the question "What's for dinner?" is dinner. It's like you're eating what we make.
Yeah.
There's no oh, I'll have the chicken, or I don't like that chicken anymore, or I'll have that pesto from the jar, not the fresh one. You're like, what? And the stuff that you eat yesterday or last week, the week before, but won't eat now. It's like, no, it's just you eat the dinner, you get the dinner, you eat it. When it's over, you get up from the table. So I don't know. I think that the horse seems to have bolted. The door is flapping in the breeze.
I'm happy to be in the middle somewhere where I'll offer the primary element of the meal, as in that today we're having chicken. We're having breaded chicken today, and that's what we're having. But I will offer a little bit of wriggle room on the condiments surrounding the. So you can have pasta or rice or potatoes with some vegetables with your chicken. Choose two items off that list, and because they're all easily thrown together, no time at all, which is fine. But that's as far as I'm willing to go. The main meat based element of the meal just has to be eaten by whoever's it's being offered to.
I like that idea of choice. Like you're not really, it's you're getting the end result, but you kind of tricking them to think that they're part of the.
That they're in charge.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work for every meal, obviously, but
No.
Like a stew or something, you're kind of snookered.
No, I need stew.
no stew, no
What
stew in
sort
this
of-
house.
No nice stuff. No vegetables.
Are
no
your
vegetables.
kids
like
like
Dave.
I made a lovely chickpea curry yesterday, and like
No chickpeas.
no interest. Like do your kids eat are they eating the same stuff? Our kids are eating the same stuff week on week, like by and large.
Yeah.
In
I
that
have-
same stuff as ye, or same stuff?
Well,
If you
often
find something,
yes,
they'll eat
but
it.
also the
Oh
same
yeah,
stuff.
we would
like-
generally have. I'm sure, like most people, what 10 meals max that you sort of rotate.
10?
Sorry, maybe not 10, but
We need
like
to take
they're
this
sorry,
offline, Nathan.
they're versions of like bolognese, or as you
Yeah.
say, some sort of breaded chicken or something else with rice or potatoes or some. Yeah, it depends. I at the moment it's not too bad because the two lads will eat most things. Though we did have an incident the other day where my wife had made paella and the middle lad was like, "I don't like paella anymore," and I was like, "Whoa, red flag here! No. Last week you've liked this for the last 3 years. We're not getting to a stage where you just suddenly don't like something and we're cooking something else." So, as Jer said, it's dinner. Sit down and eat it. And he sort of moaned his way through it. The 4-year-old, it depends on, as you can imagine. Paella is my favorite food in the world. I love it. I can't wait to eat it. It's dinner time. I hate paella. I'm never going to eat it again. Eventually, 3 hours later, has eaten the paella, and oh my god, can we have that tomorrow? It's my favorite meal of all. It's like, why?
Our kids won't eat chips.
Wow.
Won't eat burgers. Won't eat very finicky about like which chicken they'll eat. It's just
range.
Largely a disaster. The not eating chips thing is like mad. How could
None of
you?
them.
And so therefore, no potatoes. The majority of them, 2/3 definitely no to chips,
Wow.
which means you can't really justify doing them.
I mean, that's by and large a good thing. It's just sometimes.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
No,
You
well,
need
homemade
to be able
chips you
to-
see are fine. Like, so
Yeah.
we'd be the same because the two lads, they're not mad into. Now, if you want the McDonald's, they eat their chips, no problem. But they're not mad into chips. It's as if they do associate them as this is just potato in a different way that you're trying to get into me. So yes, you might say chips. But I'd be anytime we have chips with something, like having to force them to take a pile of chips just to get a bit of energy into them.
No such problems in our house. It's they would eat chips and plain pasta. And if there was nothing
Plain pasta for lunch, plain pasta for dinner.
And no
Yeah.
shits ever for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But at least you're getting something with loads of energy, loads of calories, reasonably good for you to them. Like my younger fella, if he had pesto pasta for breakfast, dinner, and tea for the rest of his life, he'd happily settle for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
but
an awful lot
what-
better from just wanting to eat like chips and burgers, which he doesn't eat. But every day, what you want for dinner? Pesto pasta. And so ultimately he ends up with pesto pasta on the side of this plate nearly every day. I make a massive dollop of it on a Monday, and then there's always enough in the fridge to throw a portion in with his chicken and his carrots or whatever it is.
fresh pesto,
Also-
Dave.
As in pesto I'm making myself that I made myself.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Oh, sorry. Okay. As Jeremy
Ain't
said
nobody
earlier,
got time
I was
for
like,
that.
Am I the only one not on this pesto train?
God no.
Oh no, there's there's jar. There's a jar, and then there's like the fresh one that they sell in the supermarket, the cooler section.
That
Oh, yeah.
fresh one.
Yeah,
Okay. Not
Yeah.
one that you rustle up in the kitchen yourself.
No, I tried that. I did try because I liked
Yeah.
pesto so much. No, not eating that. It's disgusting. It's not the same. Like, it's literally nicer. It's literally nicer.
So I also wanted to talk about bedtimes this time of year. It's becoming very difficult. The question is, how do you get them to bed at a reasonable hour when it's so warm and it's still bright out? Because we're getting late, 10 o'clock last night
Oof.
on a school night. Now, Laura, I was out at something, and by the time I got back, they were still up, and then I was hungry, and also I just want,
Schoolboy hour, Dave. I'll go for
yeah,
it.
I know. But now, in fairness, they were grand this morning. We got them out of bed in a decent hour and got them out the door to school. But it is very hard to get them to go to bed. We do have blackout curtains in the room, so the room still does have the same sort of a vibe as it would, the same sort of ambiance as it would in the mid depths of winter. But they're going up the stairs and the sun is streaming through the windows, and they're like, "What are we doing here? Why are we going to bed?" And they're giddy, and the sun gives them extra energy, and it's just getting later and later. Now, once we get through the next 2 weeks and the summer holidays start, I don't care what time they go to bed at, because it'll be a 9 o'clock, half nine, 10 o'clock departure for the various things we have on in the summer. But when it's a school night, it's becoming a major
You
issue.
remember as a kid though, going to bed and it was bright outside and feeling somehow you were cheated.
Yeah,
That there was
totally
still
ripped
sounds
off.
of other kids whose parents didn't care about them as much
Yeah.
out playing football.
And all the windows are
um,
open because it's so warm. So there's no way to
Yeah.
stop the sounds of joy and childhood emanating through the house.
Yeah, our windows are shit as well at the moment, so it's you can hear the whole fucking neighborhood. But I do not, just suck it up. Like, bedtime. Otherwise, over a period of time, the tiredness seeps in, and tiredness equals crankiness. Crankiness equals rouse. Rouse is like your whole summer disaster. There's a vision of hell, Dave.
Yeah, I suppose at least in summer you're not trying to get them out of bed at 8 o'clock.
No, that's well, one of ours, our youngest, will be awake no matter what, no matter how late. We had a gathering at the house recently. Everybody went to bed late. It could have been 11:30 for longest, latest they'd ever been up. Bing, 6:30, 7:15 the next morning, down watching telly. Oh my god! So
There
yeah.
was a while now where our two would I'd have to pull them out of the bed by the ankles to get them into school on time. Following morning, Saturday morning, 6:30 in the morning, in they come. This is an absolute piss take. Like, what is going on here? All week I've waited for you to get up on time. And now the one morning where everybody can have a lie on, an extra couple of hours of bed, here you are staring at me at 6:30. Now, it's not so bad nowadays because they're old enough to just go down the stairs themselves and get themselves a snack and throw the TV on. But prior to that, you're just thinking someone is taking the mick here.
There's definitely a bit of electricity in the air, all right, of an evening, and a boisterousness that can sometimes bubble up is now just there every single evening. It's like make dens, play with toys, cause havoc, because we're trying to devolve responsibility to them as much as we can, as in it's bedtime now, go up the stairs, have a little bit of a play, and then off to bed, as opposed to having to lead them around and get into the cycle of go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. And it, again, one of them would happily go to bed at a reasonable hour and mad for the sleep, and then the other one would just be knocking around the house at 9:30, 10 o'clock, popping off.
Can I just ask you a question on that? You were a great man for reading books the whole way through the pre-birth process. Are you still reading books about like how to, when you're talking about devolve responsibility? Is that like
No,
no?
I did. So I definitely, you're 100% right to say I definitely did that up to a period, and our parenting model does at times have input from various latest thinking on things.
All right. There's an alternative source of that these days, not you.
Correct. There's another input line there, and I have sort of fallen upon a theory that, like, I certainly think it's good to it's
You don't care anymore.
Yeah, well, a little bit of that, I'm not going to lie, but it's definitely good to obviously have whatever, latest studies, latest thinking, new thinking. It's certainly good to have that in the mix, but by and large, I've fallen on the theory that I'm messing it up no matter what I do, right? I'm not doing it right. So I'd rather in 20 years' time mess them up by my own or our own lack of the right way to do it than somebody else's.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. I mean, look, and also the time to read a whole book about this stuff, and a lot of it will be repetition and common sense. It's like, basically, don't be a complete cock, right?
Yeah, and also, your kids, and your kids are different from all of our kids are different. So, like, the thinking on something, how could that apply to a broad bank of children? You know your kids better than anybody. And yeah, like, that's it. And like, exactly like you say, if you're not being a dick about it, then you can only offload to your kids the stuff that you think is the right stuff. And if it's not, we'll find out down the track, but at least it's your stuff.
It's like that study that we discussed a while ago, where we should all be sitting around at the breakfast table with our children discussing what the day might hold and listening to the birds singing in the garden as the sun comes up. And I remember you, Nathan, just going, yeah, like in Bizarro world, maybe that might happen, as if there's time to sit down at the breakfast table and set everybody's breakfast out with all the juices and the cutlery and the milk and the butter. And come on, breakfast is a 10-minute whirlwind to try and get their asses out the door. Is it not?
There's probably no point stressing too much. Well, ours now, the three of them will sit and have their breakfast, and now, but it's still. I finished my first Weetabix. All right, there's the Weetabix. Do you want to have a second? I want a new bowl. Well, get yourself the bowl. If you want a new bowl, just get the bowl.
Yeah,
like, yeah. So that little annoyance. I'd be now we're still trying to get the lads to bed at the same time, and there are other kids out that bit later. If they were out playing in the evening, I wouldn't bring them in at this time of the year. I just sort of let them at it because school is a bit quieter now as well. Like last week in their school, I think was like active week, so there was no homework except literally going out for a run or playing sports or something like that. They're done with all their tests by now, so like it's a bit more chilled out. It's not quite as important that they're fully on it all the time. So that's the lads. We are at reward chart territory for the 4-year-old to try and get her to go to bed and stay in bed. Last night, I think she was still awake at 11:15, having gone to bed at maybe 8:00, 8:15. When my wife went in this morning, she had taken every sticker off the wall and put them on her bed. So she was using her time.
Constructively.
So she wasn't involved in you in this crack. She was just occupied.
Now, not as much. So part of the reward chart is that she stays in her bed. So the problem was she just wouldn't stay in. She'd be downstairs 50 times going, I want a drink of water. Oh, somebody has to stay upstairs. And we got into a habit, which we should have just stopped straight away, of somebody staying upstairs. So I would like go into bed with my laptop and just do some work while she'd be in the other room until she falls asleep, or my wife would be up there doing some work. You're like, but that could be anywhere from half an hour to like.
Sorry. Nathan on his laptop on bed doing work.
Wow.
This is after taking a turn.
Go on.
I'm not McIntyre.
Whoa! I was just casually minding my own business in the background here.
That was your excuse that time too, wasn't it?
That's definitely one for a live show.
That's very unfair.
Wow. Yeah. In fairness, my wife is suffering far more than I am, because generally it's, where's mommy? So even if I'm up there, where's mommy? She come back up? Yeah. So she didn't get her star this morning.
And was she
was
distraught
not
with
happy
that?
about. Yeah, she was very, very upset about that. So we'll see if it changes behavior tonight. But it's just such a waste of time. You kind of start going, you get into this habit, it's like, like from 8:30, the day is just over. It's just spent trying to wait for her to go to sleep.
Yeah, but you're nearly out of that now. Once you break your child's spirit in this aspect of it, you get that part of the evening back. And then like you begin to feel a little bit more normal again. That's
why are we nearly out of it? Why are we nearly out of it?
Well, because once she goes to bed at 8:30, you'll have your evening back to yourselves.
She just needs to actually stay in bed then.
Yeah, well, you'll fix that. This is
if she starts school in September, surely she'd be too tired then to be staying awake.
Yeah, or else he'll be completely manic with the tiredness, and it'll get much worse. 50-50 could go either way. You wanted to talk about homework as well, Dave. Why are they doing homework in June?
Yeah, as Nathan said, it's got a bit better in the last week or so, but the older guy in particular just has to do 20 minutes reading of a book of his choice, and then he's supposed to pick an exercise off a list. I think now, in fairness, I don't bother making him do that because he's either training or playing a matches 7 days a week. So I understand. I get that these initiatives in school are geared towards maybe some children who wouldn't be as active necessarily as others. So it's a great thing from that point of view. But so we don't really. I don't stand there and make him do his 60 seconds of star jumps because he's got soccer training for an hour in the heat in an hour's time. But I think the reading part of it is good. I am desperately trying to get him to read for pleasure. As I said, ever since I was 5 or 6, just loved books, always read. And it's not a concept that he's managed to grasp yet. Like, he's really good at his reading, and he will only read a football book. So at the moment he's reading this really good book, Found in the Library, that Marcus Rashford has written. But and so he's happy enough to read that because Marcus Rashford is one of his heroes, and it's all football related and how to become a better footballer and how to, be the best kid you can be, because it's written specifically for children. But he's supposed to read for 20 minutes, and every 3 minutes, what's left on the timer, Daddy? How long's left now? Am I into the last 5 minutes left? Please tell me there's less than 2 minutes left. And he spends about 3 or 4 minutes of the 20 asking how many minutes of the 20 are left. So any viewer/listeners tips on how to develop that love of books that maybe children of our generation had a bit more?
Have you got all the Dogman stuff, which are
All that
basically
stuff,
cartoon
all
books?
the David Walliams stuff, I've tried to get into books that I loved as a child, like, Tom Cochrane's books and The Secret Seven and all that kind of stuff that I loved. But
Tom Cochrane's too early. It's too early for that.
When I was his age, I loved those. Absolutely loved them. But yeah, we tried loads of different ones. And some days he will sit down and he'll ask for the TV, and I'll say, look, there's no TV until whatever such time. Why don't you grab a book and just sit in the corner there and just chill out, because you've got training later, you need to relax. And he might then go up and just grab a book off the shelf and just start reading. But it'll come, I hope.
The graphic novels, so the Dogman's totally different from the other ones that you mentioned. Have you got those ones?
Yeah, we've read all the Dogman ones. We would have been reading them at bedtime over the years.
Right. Because
I found them really difficult to follow.
Well,
I struggled with them.
They're hallucinogenic, but there's a load of those ones that are. So it's the habit of picking up the book and reading it, and then moving from that to something else that you're trying to get them into, I think.
Yeah.
But if anybody who knows a bit more about this, definitely.
I want them to be like I used to be in school, going, Jesus, I cannot wait to get home to find out what happens next in that book I'm reading. Whereas that's what I'd love. I'd love them to get to that point to go, instead of homework tonight, can I read the next chapter of whatever book it is? But I'm also conscious of handing in books that I would have read as a child, because obviously the world has moved on significantly, and there's elements of a lot of those books that you want that wouldn't be allowed. They wouldn't be written today, basically. So any listeners that would have suggestions for books that their kids have really taken to, please fire them in. We will gladly take them on board and head down the library, see what we can find.
We're in Howard Henry vortex at the minute. Let's go through that. But Jesus, I mean, it's the trade-off between the eldest lad is just crazy for it and will read it all the time, and a little bit of Dogman, a little bit of other stuff, but that's the one. And it's kind of the trade-off between it being not amazing life lessons and and actually reading.
Yeah, the Howard Henry shite, and we've done the whole Enid Blyton, Faraway Tree, all that stuff. There's like a bit of magic in that day, which might appeal to.
Henry's just a little misunderstood. I think at his core, though, there's a bit of goodness in him.
Well, it's not even just Howard Henry. It's like Sour Susan and Peter and Langer Larry, or whatever the hell the rest of them are called.
Langer Larry. Angry Adrian,
yeah. Sour Susan, yeah.
It's a great learning and alliteration. He can, like, the first time that comes up in his English class, we say, well, I'm reading Howard Henry. That's another great great example of alliteration teacher, and they'll be very impressed.
He does go around calling people, I mean, in his family, different characters in the book. So you get a good steer on where you're at. You're 1 out of 10 that day.
Okay. Was there anything else on your list, Dave?
I think we have exhausted our list for today.
Dadcast at offtheball.com if anybody wants to get in touch with us. And Dadcast is in partnership with Nivea Men. Want to feel great in your skin? Nivea Men has you covered from sensitive, tailored skincare to cleansing and anti-age. Try Ireland's #1 men's skincare brand. Anything else that they want to?
No, keep the correspondence coming, people.
I must ask about school tours at some point, because every school do a school tour this time of the year.
Yeah, this week.
So I saw the school tour notification coming in, and I was dreading that it was going to be to the zoo, and how I might be able to respond to that. Happily this year it's not, but I'm not into the zoo and I don't know what to do. I think I'll probably have to relent, but
well, you don't have to go.
You don't believe in the zoo, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They do actually exist. They're a real thing.
Dave's. Oh, I think maybe in or you are aging. They go to the zoo now on school tours. I would have thought that's the country people. The country people come up to go to the zoo, whereas the Dubs usually go to like a farm down the country.
That's where they're going.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's definitely a debate worth having someday. Again,
and are you
maybe...
all right with the farms?
Well, farms are fine. Yeah, in fact, this farm that he's going to tomorrow, we've been to before, and it's absolutely fine.
You don't mind the casual murder of animals for our meat. You're like, that's fine. It's keeping them in, well fed, well watered spaces that are tailored to their direct needs. You're like, nah.
I just don't know what a giraffe is doing.
Rabbits in a cage, just fine. Rabbits in the cage, just fine. Yeah. Giraffes, not so much.
Many of the species, of course, which are they're vulnerable, endangered, or very close to extinction as well. But
yeah, so what the hell are they doing in Dublin city centre? Like, you know what I mean? It makes no sense. Like, if they're endangered, let's debate this another day. I think it's.
Well, we can add that to the list of talking points that was for off-air discussion over a pint of Guinness. And we can bring that up another time. It's fascinating, though.
At offtheball.com. So the other thing is, you wouldn't have to go, though. You can just let the kids go.
I know, but it's kind of if you fundamentally disagree with something, and then you're sort of saying, my sister did sneakily bring them to the zoo a few years ago, and I just haven't.
Spoken to her since.
No, I haven't spoken to her since, exactly. But like, that's it. You know what I mean? I just don't want them going. That's it. Like, and I kind of think if I fundamentally disagree with it, then surely, if I was to, purely live that out, I should be saying, well, we are taking a stance, because we have spoken about it. Like, it has come up. I mean, I don't think they're as far down the line as I am in my my stance.
That's the important part. What's their choice? What's their interest level?
No, their choice now is that they loosely don't want to go for the same reasons that I don't want them to go. But that's just
then they don't have to go.
But like, at some point or another, that'll obviously exit stage left, and it'll be like, wow, you didn't want us to go to the zoo. We're going to go to the zoo every single day of the week. So,
but they'll be perfectly happy to chow down on a blood-riddled burger at McDonald's this Friday afternoon. Not a bother.
Same.
Right.
I look forward to this debate.
And that rabbit tastes lovely, by the way, if it's cooked properly, especially the French and Italians. Yeah. They do a lovely job. It's a bit bony, but
a rabbit roulade.
As long as it's a rabbit that's been allowed to run wild and free up until the moments before it's callous murder. Adrian's happy enough with it.
Exactly. Now we're cooking.
Right. This week's episode of Dadcast is in the books. We will see you again real soon. Take care.